My name is John Brinton Hogan. Bill and I work together on his website. It's a shame that listeners will be hearing my voice rather than Bill's. His was warm and mellifluous, made even more charming by his genteel British accent. It is my distinct honor to have had Bill as a friend, and hope that my reading here will, in some small way, serve to capture the wit and the wisdom of a man who is dearly missed by so many. Ashes to Ashes, My Last Claim to Fame, by Bill J. If you are reading this, then I am dead, which is a bummer. The words, however, were written while I was still alive. I considered changing some of the sentences to the past tense, but then I thought the more alert among you might wonder how a non-corporeal entity could hold a pen, so I let it alone. In 1970, I was in England editing a photographic journal, Album. It was in such dire financial straits that I decided to lash out a few guineas for a consultation with a management consultant, someone who specialized in refloating shipwrecked companies. It could not hurt, or so I thought. In fact, the experience has troubled me ever since. He browsed through a few copies of the magazine. "So what's the point of all this?" he asked as he pushed the copies back at me. I began to talk about the sad state of photography in Britain, how I was fighting to gain respect for an abused medium, why I cared about young photographers and the need to nurture their talent, what I perceived as an opportunity through the pages of the journal to present ideas, inspiration, historical context, social relevancy, image integrity. He listened with growing impatience. "Bullshit," he said. "Let's start again. You are in this thing for one of three reasons: fame, money, or power, just like everyone else. Now you tell me which one you want, and I will tell you how to get it. But don't kid yourself with the ideological, ethical crap. And don't waste my time. Come back when you have decided what you want." I never did go back. I still would not know what to tell him. I still believe in my original motives, even though I might express myself in different words. At root of my existence during my professional life has been my continual delight in photography's ability to nourish all aspects of existence. I am sure I would still exasperate the poor man if he asked me the same question today. Nevertheless, his question still intrigues me. If I was forced to choose between fame, money, or power, which would it be? Money I would rule out immediately. Sure, I would like to have a lot of loot, but not if I had to work for it by spending the greater part of the day in tasks which give me no pleasure or satisfaction. I have enjoyed teaching, lecturing, and writing about photography, activities which are less than likely to make me rich. My last royalty check was for $34, and most of my articles in the past have been freebies for services to the field, as the university so euphemistically calls this activity. I would gratefully accept huge donations, of course, as long as no strings were attached. Power is also a non-starter. I am convinced that the world would be a safer, saner place if only everyone thought exactly like me, but it would also be very dull. I enjoy the energy, diversity, and inevitable conflicts which arise from our differentnesses. It is true that teaching allows the exercise of meager amounts of power, like whether an incoherent, badly researched, and largely unintelligible paper should receive a C or a D. This is minor stuff compared to the deployment of armies. So fame it must be. The tricky question then becomes how to achieve it. I have come up with the perfect solution. What I had to do was to produce a photograph which, due to its uniqueness, would find an instant niche in a major museum and be a curiosity for anyone interested in the medium and its history. I am modest enough, aware of my own inadequacies in this respect, to know that I could not produce such an image through my own creative efforts. Therefore, the uniqueness of the picture had to be invested in some non-creative direction. The solution, if I dare to be so bold, was brilliant. I would first die. This is the only disappointing aspect of the idea so far. Then I would be cremated, and my ashes used by a photographer I could trust to make a pigment print of my own portrait taken, preferably, while I was still alive. So here would be a picture of me, the image of which was literally composed of me, unique, immortality, fame at last. The critics would rave on and on about the appropriation of self and all that. Now you may be wondering why I am revealing my secret to everlasting fame in the medium. I mean, what's to stop museums from being flooded with post-modern mortem pictures? The fact is that I'm a bit discouraged. I have discovered that the idea is not original. Browsing through a 1931 copy of Photographic Amusements by Frank Frappry and Walter E. Woodbury, son of Woodbury-type man, I stumbled across this devastating paragraph. Some time ago, we suggested a plan of making what might be termed post-mortem photographs of cremated friends and relations. A plate is prepared from the negative of the dead person, and the ashes dusted over. They will adhere to the parts unexposed to light, and a portrait is obtained composed entirely of the person it represents, or rather, what is left of them. It is true that the authors are describing a dusting on process which is different from the gum bichromate or other pigment processes which I envision. Nonetheless, the principle is the same. I have no idea how many, if any, photographers actually made such pictures. All I can tell you is that my shot at fame looks set to fizzle out. Still, I like the idea. A photograph which is not only a representation of me, but is me in actuality. I am therefore going ahead with my personal post-mortem project. The result is reproduced here. James Hajicek, friend and colleague and master non-silver printer, has already taken a large format portrait of me and has been willed my ashes to use as the image's pigment. In this final portrait, literally of me, I will still exist, sort of, in a limbo land twixt representation and reality. It may not be as unique an idea as I had hoped, but I will not be around to think of anything better or care.